Welcome to the 15th episode of Conversations with a Martial Artist. Today I'm back at you with another Zoom episode. We've been speaking online to my buddy Kwok-Leung, who runs a gym, Kingdom Fight Gym out in Phnom Penh in Cambodia. We met when I was traveling out there. I did a bit of training with him in their new facility. Fantastic gym. And something that's not very thought of is Cambodian martial arts. They've actually got a couple of unique martial arts, really interesting history, which we kind of get into today. But Kwok's a really talented martial artist, really diverse background, done some traditional martial arts, some Taekwondo, Dutch kickboxing, Muay Thai, and now teaching full-time out of their gym. So really interesting, definitely worth checking out. I hope you enjoy the episode, learn a little bit. All the details about Kingdom Fight Gym are going to be in the description. I will leave you now to sit back and enjoy our fantastic voices.
Alrighty, Kwok, pleasure to see you again. It's been a little while. We were just saying off camera. We met back in Cambodia when you were. Are you still based in Phnom Penh?
Yes, I'm still based in Phnom Penh. Yes, correct.
Perfect. Yeah. So I was out there visiting, stumbled across your gym by pure chance. I just happened to be fairly nearby, and it was awesome experience. And I thought it'd be really interesting to have you on to talk a little bit about your background and what you're doing out there, and Cambodian martial arts in particular, because when you think of Cambodia, it's not necessarily thought of as a big martial arts hub, but actually there's quite a lot of interesting history and stuff there.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, happy to share that with you.
Awesome. Yeah. And first of all, I just want to say as well, thank you for giving up your time. I know it's kind of the middle of the day, which is always a bit awkward because you have a lot of private lessons and things like that. It's first thing in the morning over here, -4 degrees, we were saying. So
what time is it now, Ajor?
7-ish, I think. Yeah. So
okay.
Yeah.
Right.
Not too bad.
You're an early bird normally, Tom?
Yeah, a little bit. I like to get up and crack on. This is normally like prime training time because people will leave you alone.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
I've got a garage.
My morning training as well.
Yeah, exactly.
Sweet. You got your own setup.
Yeah, so I go down to my garage and do my little like morning routines and a bit of solo training most mornings. Although to be honest, at -4 this morning, I'm not fancying it. I'd much rather be in here with a coffee.
Yeah, I can imagine that. Unless your garage is heated, I guess.
No, very low budget, that garage.
Yeah, I can imagine. Yeah.
So I think maybe to start with, if you can kind of introduce yourself and kind of run through a bit of your background, and then we can kind of dive into some of what you've been up to out there and Kun Khmer and things like that.
Yeah. All right. Cool. Perfect. So yeah, my name's Kwok. I was born and raised in the Netherlands to Asian parents. So I moved to Asia in 2014. So when I started my studies in engineering, I wanted to move to Asia and start a career there. At the same time, I was getting older, and I felt like, fuck it, man, I need to go now, or it's never gonna happen. And I think by heart I was like 33 already, so I felt myself was a bit old.
Right.
With the engineering company back then, I told them like, we have an office in Singapore, so things are not going so well, and I want to move to Singapore. So either you send me there, or I'm gonna go by myself. And in the end, with the reorganization, it worked out pretty well for me. So I moved to Singapore, still in engineering, working on big pharmaceutical companies, oil and gas, all the big impactful companies.
Yeah, all everyone's favorite companies.
Yeah. So to be honest, like back then I was a bit ignorant. I was just chasing the money, chasing the career ladder. So after 1 year Singapore, I just felt deadly unhappy still. So I had everything, I had a house in the Netherlands, had a nice car, had a nice wife, back then a wife, good career, and then something was missing. So after 1 year in Singapore, I decided like I'm gonna figure out what to do next in life. So I divorced actually at that time already. Met another partner quite fast, to be honest. And with her, I stayed in Singapore 1 more year, saved some money, and did some traveling around.
Sure.
So at that time, I still didn't know I was gonna go to Cambodia. I was traveling. I went to Myanmar with a mate of mine, and I wanted to train that way. Everybody knows Muay Thai from Thailand, and I thought
Yeah.
like, Myanmar, probably they have their own martial arts. So did some research, that way, cool. I wanted to train, but not with the headbutts.
Yeah.
I don't think it's very healthy, but anyways, people do their thing.
No, it's the most brutal martial art I've ever seen.
Oh yeah, bare knuckle, headbutts. It's and oh man, the rule sets, right? Like if you get knocked down or KO'd, you get 2 minutes revival time.
Yeah, they'll wake you
It's
back up and off you pop.
insane. They will fucking shake you and then you continue. Like, dude, I can't even imagine the amount of brain damage you
it's horrendous.
get. Yeah. So I couldn't find any fight camp or any gym accessible online, and I asked people around there, and nobody really knew about a lead weight gym I could go to and train. So then I felt like, man, it's kind of weird that there's no fight camp accessible. Like if you go to Thailand, all the Muay Thai camps, everybody knows them, right? So I was chatting to my mate, who wasn't on the travels, but he went to Myanmar before me, and he had the same issue. He wanted to train, couldn't find a gym, and then we just started talking, and then we talked about Cambodia has Kun Khmer, Latway in Myanmar, in Laos you have Muay Lao, and it's so hard to find information in all these countries except Thailand.
Yeah.
And we just started dreaming like, wouldn't it be cool to have a fight camp in those countries and to attract foreigners to come and train there with the locals. Because like with all due respect to Thailand, I love training in Thailand. I love going there. But it's a bit saturated, right?
Yeah.
If you compare to Laos, Cambodia, or Myanmar, I would say like these countries are a little bit like Thailand, but then like 20, 30 years ago, a little bit more raw, a bit more adventurous. So yeah, at the time, I was just dreaming like, hey, I want to have a fight camp in one of these countries. So Mark, my friend in the Netherlands, who I started the first gym with in Cambodia, had some contacts in Cambodia already. And then we started, I'm going to go to Cambodia. I'm going to scout locations. We're going to figure out the best location to be setting up the gym. But it took us like 2 years to actually bite the bullet. It was super scary, man. Like we didn't know the country, we didn't know the culture. So at the end, also like, fuck, man, we need to do this. It's now or never. If I'm not gonna do this now, I'm gonna move back to the Netherlands, and I kind of know like, I'm gonna be unhappy again. So yeah, we just went for it, bit the bullet, and just fucking did it. So it's super cool. So 2018, we opened our first camp in Siem Reap. The reason why we chose Siem Reap back then is also we wanted to focus on tourists.
Yeah.
Siem Reap has the biggest religious site on the world, Angkor Wat.
Yeah, definitely.
And back then, did you go there, by the way?
Yeah,
you
I
went
did. So
to Siem Reap,
before
right?
I was in Phnom Penh, I was in Siem Reap and Angkor Wat. Yeah.
Right. So yeah, back then nobody heard of COVID, right? So we thought like tourism is gonna be booming and always be there.
Oh yeah, of course.
Yeah. So backfired a little bit. So back to the opening of 2018. I'm not sure you know Ernesto Host, famous Dutch kickboxer. So he is our ambassador. He came to open our gym. So that was
amazing.
like, yeah. I'm not sure I told you last time we met. But yeah, he's like I remember watching him fighting in K1.
Yeah, he's a legend.
Yeah, fucking legend, man. Such a fucking enormous guy, and just the nicest guy, like super gently and friendly.
Yeah.
So yeah, he came for about 10 days. So we showed him around, did an official opening with us. So it was I think one of the happiest moments of my life at that moment. I felt
yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, super cool. And then fast forward, COVID hit. So business was slowly growing. Like again, like nobody knew about Kun Khmer and nobody why would they look for Kun Khmer if they don't never heard of it?
Yeah,
So we try to market ourselves like Muay Thai slash Kun Khmer fight gym, fight camp in Cambodia. What a lot of people don't know is there is quite a big fight scene here, actually. There's a lot of Thai coming here to compete. The Cambodians go to Thailand. There are foreigners coming in here. In my humble opinion, I feel like the level here is not as high as in other countries
sure.
for certain obvious reasons. Like, for example, the Khmer Rouge, the Civil War. A lot of old teachers, they basically got killed. So a lot of knowledge got
Right.
lost. Yeah, and also a lot of teachers, they were refugees in other countries as well. So it was a big gap. So when the country kind of came back to normal and stabilized, what you saw in Thailand, for example, I think Thailand Muay Thai, they constantly developed. Also with the foreigners coming in,
Yeah.
using the hands a bit more, like the sport got more and more complete. Besides the clinching, boxing got more important within the game.
Yeah.
So I felt like Muay Thai has grown a lot, a lot, a lot. And if people would ask me what's the main difference between Kun Khmer and Thailand, I would say, and Muay Thai, sorry, Kun Khmer and Muay Thai, I would say like currently, I feel like a lot of Kun Khmer fighters are just relent. They just move forward. Like there's
Yeah.
less skill. I wouldn't say they're not skilled, but a little bit less skilled in terms of like, let's say head movement, movement in
Yeah.
general. They're just fucking tough. Like compare
That's
them
it.
all
They're very
to
robust. Move forward.
yeah. Compare them all to little rotangs, Uh, but also that's what the crowd likes to see here still as well.
Sure.
Like for me, like I would like to see like in Thailand Muay Thai style, like the moving. That's for me that's skill,
Mm.
right? And that's a little bit what we try to implement here. But it's hard. Like our coaches are quite young. Like even asking their feedback, like, hey, why are we training this way? Why do we want it this way? Because my coach taught me this. Because we've
Mm.
always done this. It's a challenging discussion to have, like explaining them not to run with a sweatsuit like 2 weeks or 10 days before your weight cut. It's like, oh
Yeah.
no, but we need to lose weight. It's like, yeah, but you don't know the reason, the reasons behind it, right? Like what's the science behind it?
Yeah. How to do it in a more
So
modern way.
yeah, exactly. And so a lot of things we're still, after being 5 years in Cambodia and running a gym for 5 years, I don't want to rule with an iron fist, like I want to educate them to a certain
Mm.
extent. Like they know way more about the fight culture here than me. I need the coaches also to set up the fights, the promotions. To be honest, like the fight game itself is like the part I like the least of having a fight gym.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah. It's the politics, the matchmaking, and like but this happens in Netherlands or UK as well, right? The other day we had a pro fight. It was an entry level fight, and it was at another local gym here. And like we obviously won. We cut open the boy two cuts, but then we lost. At least it should have been a draw.
Right.
But you also have the same like challenges as in the West, like home advantage, and this is
Yeah.
Khmer Khmer, right? Like if you come in as a foreigner and you don't knock out the guy, then yeah, those old school rules still apply
You've
basically
lost.
in countries like yeah, basically yeah. And it also still happens in Thailand, for example.
Yeah, I mean, some of the match. I mean, I don't know a huge amount about the competitive scene in Cambodia, but in Thailand, you do see some wild matchups and things like that happen all the time. Like they have loads of foreigners that come in, particularly in Thailand because it is such a tourist destination, like you say, and they'll fight like
Yeah,
locals, and they'll end up. You have this young, strong guy fighting really old Thai dudes, and it's like, what I don't know
yeah.
about that, or crazy
But that's a
weightlift.
little bit.
Yeah,
That's the thing. The weight. It's the weight as well. Like why do you get the older Thai fighters, and it happens here with the older Khmer fighters? Because they're bigger. They're not
right.
training anymore as much. Most of them become tuk-tuk drivers, and they
Yep.
just heavier. Like if a foreigner comes in here, like a friend of mine is still fight. He stopped fighting now for a while, but he was fighting at 85. He walks around at 95, so it's
Mm.
very hard to find a fight for him. There's only one or two big guys. So he fought one of the big guys. He fought him twice, because there's just not enough big Cambodians
Big,
to,
yeah, of course.
yeah. And then back then, they also didn't see um, the potential, or didn't see a good reason to match up foreigners against foreigners. It happens a little bit more now because they know if they want to attract more foreign fighters, they need to make it more attractive to them as well. So
Yeah.
the fight purse is getting a little bit more. So the sport is rapidly growing still.
Okay.
Yeah.
And on the fight purses and things, because obviously I know in Thailand that's a big thing where a lot of people, like almost everyone, is like fighting for a living, but you don't make very much money for it for each fight, so you have
Correct.
to fight super regular. Is that the same in
Yeah,
Cambodia?
yeah. Yes, correct. So you have a lot of what we call them bread fighters. For example, I'm not sure you met him last time. Somnang, he's our team leader of the coaches. He's also actively coaching, but he's 22 or 23 now. But he retired fighting when he was 21 because he got injured. He fought 2, 3 times a month. So a lot of people would judge like, oh, the gym shouldn't allow him to fight, but people have to understand as well. But he need to make a living,
Yeah.
He had a family to support. In his case, his mom was very sick. His brother had a car. They had to sell a car. So he had to fight 2, 3 times a month just to make a living and pay
Yeah.
back debts. And that's tough, man. I have one story of an old fighter of us. He left our gym together with one of our coaches. I still followed him back in the days. But he fought 3 times in 1 month. The first fight he got TK'd out, so his leg got destroyed. And then 1 week later, he was on TV again. He was fighting again. So I know his leg got destroyed. So does his opponent, right? So literally
Yeah.
a few kicks later, you just cannot.
Same situation.
So yeah, exactly. There's a lot of despair in people. And it's similar as in Thailand. There's a lot of fighters here. And if you come here back again and you look at the tuk-tuk drivers and you see some scars on their face, you just ask them, were you a fighter before? Like 9 out of 10 were fighters. And then now they're a tuk-tuk driver. Some of them have belts and like quite high level fighters.
Yeah.
And there's also another, the scene is changing as well. Like, in my opinion, if you're a coach for a fight gym, like where you have a stable of fighters, I think there's little money for the coaches to be made. Like what we try to do is like we're trying to find a good balance. Like I approach my gym as a business. So we try to have a sustainable gym. Before I started with fighters here in Phnom Penh, I just focused on private training during COVID. Because at that time, the rules also didn't allow us to have group classes.
Sure.
So we bend the rules a little bit. Like, you come one-on-one, so you're my friend, and you could train with me or the other coaches. So, for example, Somnang, when he was fighting, he could, when he was still competing, a good fight, he could earn maybe like 300-400 US.
Okay.
So that was already quite okay. So let's say he fight 3 times a month, and he had good fights, like average 1,000 a month. But the damage your body is taking is just irreversible,
Yeah, is it worth it for a grand a month?
Right. For them, yes. For us, like I feel like we have a different position to be able to see it from a different angle. Like
Sure.
a lot of people in the Netherlands, I'm sure it's also in the UK, you become a semi-pro first, right? So you start as a hobby, right? You go to school, you have a job, you train. Maybe I want to fight. And then you become a semi-pro, and then you take the leap into pro. But there's no middle ground here. You need to work, you need to fight. And here also, very old school, the gyms are like either you train every day, twice a day, or you don't fight.
Right.
Yeah. So if you are training twice a day, for sure you don't have energy to work. At least I don't.
No,
even my brain is then just flatline. So so what I'm trying to say with Sanang, for example, now when he coached with us, in a good month when we have a lot of private and also tourists coming in, he can earn up to like 1,500 to 2K with less impact on his body. He's working less than a full-time office job. So even though I love the fight game, I feel like that's not sustainable for the future. Because if
Sure.
you look at how many fighters are in this country, and a lot of people from the countryside, they want to become a fighter because that's their only exit. You know, either you become a farmer if you're not educated, or a tuk-tuk driver, or a fighter, or construction site. But if you work on a construction, unskilled labor, like just let's say just carrying stuff around, is like
Yeah.
$5 or $10 a day. You know,
Right.
it's like it's nothing, you know, like you barely can eat and pay your room for that.
Yeah, for sure. Because
So I feel like
it's
as a oh yeah.
hmm.
Sorry, go ahead. Yeah.
No, I was just going to say about Cambodia. It's not like a particularly wealthy country, but there were some parts of it which are very expensive, especially around Siem
Yes.
Reap, where there was a lot of tourism. I noticed was a lot more expensive than in weirdly the capital in Phnom Penh itself.
It changed now actually. Maybe it has to do with COVID, but like there's a big exodus from Siem Reap because everything relies so much on tourism. So the tourists don't
Mm.
come. A lot of business relying tourism, they fall.
Yeah,
A lot of those businesses are expats, so they leave. So it's just a downward spiral. And a
yeah,
lot of expats they move to Phnom Penh now, including myself. Um, so it to be honest, Phnom Penh is getting more expensive now as well.
okay,
Food wise, Siem Reap, I recently visited Siem Reap and I was surprised that when I lived there, I felt like certain restaurant the food was expensive for me. And now I live in Phnom Penh, I go there, it's like different benchmark. It's cheap, cheap.
sure, yeah,
Yeah. So COVID actually was a blessing in disguise for me. Like I was kind of forced to move from Siem Reap. The gym was still open. I found a job in engineering in IT actually. Um, and after 4 months, I quit. Like I moved to Phnom Penh. I felt like, fuck, man, I don't want to go back to Netherlands during COVID. I had
yeah,
this opportunity, so I just took it. So I worked also to be able to keep the gym running in Siem Reap,
sure,
but it was basically just money down the drain. And then I just said to myself, like, I'm just gonna, sorry, ask around if people want to do private training and see how that goes. And I started running renting a small studio, and before I know it, we had a team of 4 or 5 coaches, and then we just smashed private trainings.
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
So
it was an amazing gym when I came to visit. You had a good team there, really cool setup. I
yeah,
know you fairly recently moved there, and you were saying before you've now moved again since, right, to a bigger space.
yeah, yeah, correct. Because we actually didn't per se wanted to move back then, the location you visited. But right next to our building, they were clearing out a big plot of land and they're gonna make a big headquarters of one of the big corporate companies here. So
Mm.
they're gonna start digging and working on a foundation. And we knew like if we're gonna stay there for a few months, it's gonna be unbearable. Like the
Right.
construction, the foundation pounding. So then we just roamed around. And the gym location we are in now, we actually visited it a few years ago. But back then it was a bit too expensive for us. We didn't know the market and we felt like
Yeah.
it's a bit too risky. So after we've met and business was kind of growing and we had more faith in the industry here, we decided to
Just go
take
for
the
it.
leap.
Great.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, so
Oh,
now we're double the size, and since we moved into this place, we started thinking about a fight team again.
okay.
So now yeah. So in the old place you visited us, we didn't have fighters, no active
Hmm.
fighters, except Gustav, my
I
gym
was going to
partner.
say, yeah, he was he was a
Yeah.
bare knuckle fighter, wasn't he?
Yeah. Correct. He recently fought BKFC twice here in Asia. Won
Awesome.
the first one, lost the second one. He's still now he is actually on one of the tropical islands here in Cambodia, running a small gym for us, also Kingdom Fight Gym.
Great.
Yeah. So next time if you visit, you should visit him as well. It's going to be training literally on viewing the ocean.
Oh, I love that. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. I'll send you some pictures later. Yeah. Super
Definitely. Yeah,
cool.
that sounds great.
Yeah. So yeah, like I said, we just started a fight team, 3 youngsters. None of them fought before.
Okay.
17, 18, and 19. And I also I wanted to do things differently. Like I know how it goes with local gyms. you bring fighters in, before you know it, they're fighting. And
Yeah.
I told the boys and the coach from the get-go, like, hey, they're gonna train us, and like at least 3 to 6 months, they're just gonna train. I want to see their attitude. We sponsor them. They live at the gym for free. They train for free.
Right.
We sponsor them with food. Also, we're not taking money from their purse, except it's above $300. Everything below is just theirs. That's why, like, I want to focus on the business. Like, I don't want to care about the fighters, as in, like, I need their money to sustain the
Yes.
bunness.
Be fully reliant on being like a fight
Yeah,
gym.
for me, it's like, yeah, and for me, it's like really like I want to support these kids. They want to fight, and I want to. We only allow them fight once a month, also
Okay.
to have them give them a longer career. Besides that, they have like little chores at the gym. One is helping out in the shop. One is helping out with cleaning. One is watching the motorbike. So they all get little allowance. So not full salary, but it's some spending money.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's just for me a little bit more healthier way to try to help them to have a sustainable future. You know, a
Yeah.
lot
The
of people just
longevity.
feel like I need the money now. I want to do it now, and yeah, but I'm not saying my way is the best way, but I feel like with my own life experience, I feel like that's a little bit more safe.
Yeah.
Because everybody they already are 10 steps back, you know. They have debts in their family. So what happens if your parents have debts and you start working? The majority of your income is going to go back to your family to support them.
Yeah.
So when are you going to get out of the poverty line? Get
Yeah.
above
It's a
it?
hard cycle.
Yeah, fucking hard, man. Especially nowadays in this country, like a lot of things are getting more expensive, getting more expensive. So they need kind of a head start. Like for example, Somnang now finally can pay off all the debts for his parents because the mom was super ill. So now they're almost out of debt,
Right.
and that's quite a big accomplishment for a young kid like him.
Mm.
Uh, and then they can focus on their own future. So he got married, he got a newborn. So I feel like if you want to, like, I'm not saying I'm here to help them, but I just want to see that they have a fair chance in life,
Yeah.
right? Like, it's very hard to go above a certain threshold if you're always just lagging behind.
Yeah. You've always got
Uh,
something like attached to it. You're paying off something or
yeah,
another.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, exactly. And you don't have surplus money to save, you know, then it makes it very hard in life.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay. Fair enough. And so, going back slightly as well to you and your background. So you were saying you've been training in a couple of different places. So obviously you said you went and explored Burma or Myanmar a bit. How
Yeah.
was that, by the way? Because I really wanted to do that, but the time that I was traveling there just quite recently had a bit of an uprising. And I thought maybe not a good time to
Yeah, maybe not a good time. No, no, no.
go.
So I didn't manage to train there in the end, but Myanmar
Okay,
was fucking amazing. The country is beautiful. The people are friendly.
I've heard that. Yeah.
So yeah, for me, like Myanmar, Burmese people and Cambodian people, like they're super close to each other in terms of
Right.
friendliness. Yeah,
Yeah, I
it's
did
just
notice
amazing.
Cambodia was super friendly. All the locals were really, really
Yeah,
friendly
yeah,
and like
yeah,
helpful, and
yeah,
yeah, I really liked it there.
yeah. So
Awesome.
Myanmar is very similar. Yeah, I would recommend to go there, man. But like now is maybe not the safest
Yeah.
time to go. Even though I heard, even though I heard Yangon, the capital now, is safe. So, but
Mm.
if you go to the areas outside, if you want to go to some tourist place like Bagan, it's still quite rough.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, I'd probably skirt it for now. But then so
Yeah.
your training background, you were training in Holland originally first when you were living there, right?
Yeah, so I feel like I started quite old. I was 15 when I started Taekwondo,
Hmm.
and then picked up some kickboxing here and there. When I was a bit younger, I really didn't like kickboxing because in Netherlands it had a very negative image. It
Oh,
was
okay.
like yeah. I was a bit blinded by that as well. Like, with certain type of people who did kickboxing.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but along like recent, I think decade or maybe longer, the image really, really changed. Like, I
Okay,
think a lot
right.
of people just see the the outside of the martial arts and kickboxing, right? But also the
Yeah.
media in Netherlands didn't really help. Like if there was something bad happening outside the boxing gym, they really highlight that, like a boxer got killed because of whatever.
Yeah.
So it really got a negative image
And
for a
this
long,
is
long
like
time.
Dutch style kickboxing, is it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Correct. Yeah. And then when I moved to Singapore, I also learned Muay Thai. So I always felt like, it's all the same, right? And then when you move
Sure.
to Asia and you learn, like, one of my first Thai trainers was Atachai, super famous fighter.
Yeah.
So yeah, then you learn like, oh fuck, this is
It's
more what I
different.
like.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very, very different. With all due respect to Dutch style kickboxing, I love the aggressive, the high pace. But for me, Muay Thai was more an art,
Sure.
like everything around it. So yeah, and then I was still doing Taekwondo and then Muay Thai on the on the side. Um, and then when I moved to Cambodia, um, it was Kun Khmer. But for me, basically, like even if you're if you wouldn't know you were crossing border, let's say you're
Yeah.
in Thailand, you close your eyes, I put you in a gym here and you go training, and everybody still speaks English, right? No other
Yeah.
languages. You train, and I'm training in a Muay Thai gym.
Sure.
That's like for the outside world, there's it's all very similar. What I always say, like, so I'm not Cambodian, right? So I'm a bit more, I feel like, honest and open,
Sure.
less biased. So they share the same roots from the Khmer Empire.
Yeah.
But the Khmer Empire doesn't mean it's Cambodia. It doesn't mean it's Thailand or Laos or Myanmar. So they share the same roots. So like I said before as well, like Mui Lao in Laos, Latwe in Myanmar, Kun Khmer or Padal Sere here in Cambodia, and Muay Thai, they all share the same roots. And I see it a bit like culture or language. Like even in England, right? You go from north to south, like it's
Oh
still the
yeah.
same language, but it's different,
Yeah.
right? The dialect. They would say like, "Oh, this is wrong," but down there, this is right. So
Yeah.
even if you go to Thailand from north to south, it's like, if you kick, no, don't do like this, do like this. And you go to another gym, it's like, do it this way.
Sure.
So for me, it's all very similar. There are some nuanced differences. I feel like the instruments they use at the fights, for example.
Okay.
So the music is very similar, but if you look at the instruments, they use different instruments. So you can
So
pay
for
attention on that,
people
for
that don't
example.
know as well, they're in well, especially in Thailand, I haven't actually been to any fights in Cambodia, but it sounds like the same. They have like a band playing traditional music, which a lot of people have heard that Thai music in the background of fights.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Correct. Yeah, that's very similar here. Yeah.
Okay. Because that's something I did want to ask you about. There's a lot of different cultural aspects, particularly with Muay Thai, where they have like their white crew and the
Yeah.
music and things like that. There's a big culture of respect. Is that the same with Cambodia? Because I noticed that in Laos, Muay
Yes.
Lao, they do the same.
Yeah, very similar. Very similar. So this is very interesting, actually. You touched the topic. I recently met, last year actually, in the old gym where you came to visit, an old crew from Cambodia who fled to America. He came back, and his son-in-law and his daughter, they were writing a book about him. So in his book, so he didn't come back to Cambodia for over 30 years. So when he came here, and I read the book, certain words he is using, it's the same word as they use in Thailand. Like the Wai in Thailand is the traditional dance. So he referred to it as the Wai in his book as well. But ever since I did my research on Kun Khmer in Cambodia, here we call it the Kun Kru. So at a certain time, there has been a shift
Yeah.
for whatever reason, right? The Mongkong, what they wear.
Yeah.
If you look back in the days, they were all wearing the same one as in Thailand. Maybe they were different roles, and there must be some differences. But again, if you go to different gyms in Thailand, they all are a little bit different, right?
Yeah, sure.
Depending on the master and the coach. Also, that they changed over time. At a certain time, they were wearing the krama is very traditional type of fabric here in Cambodia. It's like the checker patterns. I'm not sure. Probably you've seen it, like the scarves
Yep.
old people wear. So they were making a headband out of that. So it was just a fabric headband and with
like
a
the
Khmer
fabric
flag on the
ones.
front.
Yeah.
Yeah. But now you can see at some Cambodian fights, they're going back to the Mongkong again.
Yeah.
So, but this is just my take on it, and also based on some research I've done. But maybe that's interesting for you to look into yourself as well. So, I'm not sure who told me this, but a lot of Cambodians are so kind of offended with Thailand that they feel like Thailand stole from them, right?
Yeah.
I'm staying out of that discussion, but therefore they feel like they don't want to think that they don't want other people to think that Cambodia stole certain traditions from Thailand. So
Right. Yeah.
the Mongkong, they changed it because otherwise people think it's Thai,
Yeah.
right? And that's the same thought process I have about the Kun Khmer and White Khmer.
Yeah, that
But
makes
again,
sense, to be fair.
so that's a little bit my take on it, on how certain things have been developed. For a long time, but there's gonna be a long as project to dig into the history of Kun Khmer here, talk to old masters, and see their opinion on stuff. But especially nowadays, I'm not sure you follow the news with the Sea Games. That was quite a big thing. Like the Sea Games were held in Cambodia this year or last year. And every time in the Sea Games, the sport was called Muay Thai, right? So now it came to Cambodia, and Cambodia made it a thing like, oh, it should be called Kun Khmer in our country. So that was a whole debate going back and forth.
Sure, right, yeah. Because
Yeah.
For people that don't know, would you explain a little bit about the rule? Because I know obviously it is very similar to Muay Thai. Would you explain a little bit about what Kun Khmer actually is in terms of the rules and how it looks in terms of a match and things like that?
So actually, it's the same. So it's including elbow strikes, punching, clinching, kicks, sweeps, dumps, everything what you see in Muay Thai is here as well. Even if you look in Muay Thai, right? Like if you go to different organizations, they might have different rule sets, right?
Yeah.
It's a little bit the same if you come here. Like you have here, for example, you have organization called Mass Fight. It's coming from China. So it's 1 round, 9 minutes. But it's a Kun Khmer fight.
Yeah.
So you only win by KO. If there's no KO after 9 minutes, then it's a draw. For example,
similar to the rule set for Dave Leduc recently fought in Cambodia, didn't he? Yeah, they fought under that rule.
He fought Pom Samnang. Yeah, correct. Yeah. So so it's all very similar, if not the same.
Sure.
Yeah.
And so is it more of like a stylistic difference? Same way like Dutch kickboxing, you know, they've got their own kind of style versus Muay Thai versus...
I would say yes. But for example, if you look at the Thai styles, right? You have the Muka, you have the knee fighters, you have the clinch fighters, you have the Muay Khmer. So you can compare it like that a little bit. So what a lot of people tell me, and I can see that as well, the Cambodians are a bit more brutal because they smash elbows a little bit more.
Sure.
Yeah, and they're very tough. They're just marching forward. So that's also a big part of the scoring as well.
Right. Okay.
The aggressive fighter. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's also quite similar to Muay Thai, isn't it? Like certain kicks will land more, and
yes, correct. Yeah. Yeah. So that's why you can see like a lot of Thai fighters used to come here and fight as well. And there were some, I'm not sure you followed Muay Hardcore, Max Muay Thai. There were some Khmer fighters in those organizations as well. Yeah.
Okay. And so within that region, you kind of mentioned a lot of the fighters from Kun Khmer will go and fight Muay Thai fighters or Muay Lao fighters or whatever. So do they travel between regions quite a lot and compete? Because I suppose if it's the same rule set and the same style, just different names, it must be quite easy to match up.
Yeah. At least before COVID, I used to watch some more fights, and you could see people from Laos coming in, Myanmar, Thailand. Even when we had the gym in Siem Reap, and there was like smaller events there, people from Thailand would come over. It's just very close to the border as well.
Yeah, very easy to get
So
to.
yeah, exactly. Yeah. And also like that is another debate of where the land, but that's in the Netherlands or in the West as well, like land borders, right? It shifts over years, right?
Yes.
So Cambodia has, for example, Thailand has quite some fighters who actually also speak Khmer because they're close to the Thai Khmer border. For
Okay.
example, there's some interviews of Sam A. He speaks Khmer. I think Nong O. So quite some
Oh,
people from, let's say, yeah, the close to the Khmer border, Cambodian border, they speak Khmer at home.
okay. Because
Yeah.
yeah, I actually spoke to a local Cambodian guy when I was on a bus doing that border jump, and
Right.
he was explaining the same thing. There was a lot of tension from the past about borders and things. There's some very disputed things, which I guess feeds back into
Yeah.
what you were saying about Cambodia versus Thailand. There was definitely some tension about whose land is what and what culture
Yeah.
comes from
Yeah.
where.
There's still some conflicts. There's some quite famous temples. One of the most famous one, I think they only stopped having both armed forces on the premise like maybe 10 years ago.
Yes, I
It's
think he was
Preveheer.
telling me about that. They had landmines and things all around it,
Yeah,
and
yeah, 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 yeah.
one side used to teach it in their school book, says this is as, and then the other was teaching it in theirs, and theirs.
Yeah. And then even if you look on Google Maps, like the border is on the wrong side,
Right.
depending on from which side you view it, right?
Yeah, sure.
I've viewed, so Preveheer is one of the most famous conflict temples there. And there's some smaller satellite temples which I visited by motorbike when I was living in Siem Reap. And there you literally have the Thai army and the Cambodia soldiers basically walking next to next.
Mhm.
So if you go on the temple, that's kind of neutral zone, and then
Yeah.
there's some barriers, and then on one side the Thai soldiers sleep there, and on the other side the Cambodia soldiers. So it's still
Oh.
still very very fresh, man.
Yeah, there's still definitely
Yeah,
some things underlying there, and because it was all
yeah,
one empire at one point, right? That whole region, like Myanmar, Laos,
yeah.
Cambodia, even Vietnam, I believe as well, right?
Uh, Vietnam a part as well, yeah. So they
Yeah,
have their own martial arts as well. I forgot the name, but it's different
Vietnam.
from
Yeah.
yeah.
Very different though. It's more
Yeah.
like a karate style rather than
Yeah,
like
I think that's a little bit what they do in Malaysia as well.
yes,
Malaysia has their own
yeah.
martial arts as well. Yeah.
Yeah. It is
So
interesting how
yeah,
they
so
they've
so
developed all those different
yeah,
regions.
yeah. So I feel like that's yeah, same as in the West, like borders move and the culture changes. So for me, I don't think one stole from the other, and I feel like they're all related to each other.
Yeah,
And there's just a lot of pride involved, like
sure.
a lot of ego. And in the end, like I guess you just have to show it in the ring. Because like I always take this example as well, right? If you're a Dutch kickboxer or kickboxer from UK, and you come to Cambodia or you come to Thailand or you go to Thailand and you compete on the Muay Thai rule set and you fight there, nobody bitches about like, hey, oh, he's a kickboxer,
Yeah,
he stole it from us. It's not even an issue, It's not.
yeah,
It's not. They respect you, and if you're like, oh fuck, this guy is coming to fight here, super cool. But these countries, yeah, it's the same with Netherlands and Belgium or Netherlands and Germany with football. There's
right.
always a certain rivalry, and I guess with UK as well, like maybe UK and Scotland or something, or
Yeah, sure. Fair enough.
yeah. So
Yeah,
I feel
there
like
is a
that's
lot of that.
just yeah, it's just a big brother, and yeah, that kind of rivalry.
Yeah, human nature, I guess. But it's nice, like you say, that with combat sports in particular, it's quite easy to see. I mean, you put two guys in a ring and they'll hash it out.
Yeah,
Like
yeah, yeah, yeah,
it's
yeah,
not
yeah,
necessarily
exactly. Yeah.
culture versus culture, but you can
No,
see it in
there's
action.
There's one super famous fighter here. He's a bit on the downhill now, but Kaka is his nickname. and he was actually raised on the border with Thailand, so he speaks fluent Thai, right?
Mm.
So he competed for a long time here in Cambodia, lived here in Cambodia. He fought and won championship, and then certain time he switched camp, and he was in Thailand for a long time, right? But he's Cambodian, but he came out for a Thai camp. No,
Mm.
kudos on him. I think there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, fine.
Yeah,
But
I feel like it's just most of the time it's a pride thing.
Sure, yeah, I bet it probably would be, yeah.
And just and I'm trying to teach the boys here as well, like stop at a certain time also victimizing yourself. You know, like certain stuff happened. Yes, okay, maybe they did steal from you, maybe not. But in the end, if you want to outgrow this, you just need to move on. You know, like
yeah, they've got their thing
past.
now. It's set up. You know, it is what it is.
Yeah, it is what it is. Yeah. Yeah.
And in terms of your competition then, and your fight team that you're building and training at the moment, have they had any fights yet, or that you're still working?
Yeah. I think let me check. All of them had 4 fights.
Oh, great!
Or 3 fights. All of them had 3 fights. Yeah. We just had our first loss last week, but the rest were wins and draws. So
that's all right. Yeah, out of big pool. That's pretty good. And have you changed the way that you teach or train them at all compared to, obviously you were doing a lot of tourism and things before. Do you train it in a different way?
No. So the majority of the coaching of the fighters I let to the coaches we have. They have more experience in that part. But I do try to guide them in a certain way. Like I want to say like, hey, for example, the first few months, like, okay, certain weeks or days, we just work on the hands, you know, just have clean shots. You can still see it. Sometimes people, they can punch hard, but it's not a clean shot. You know what I mean? Like, so stuff like that. They have raw power, and they're just tough. You know, they will just come marching forward. It's super frustrating. You know, even if you spar with this little boys, they're just coming at you, coming at you, right? So they got hard. So that's you can't take that from him. But add some skills to it, you know. With one boy, he's tough as nails, but every time, even if we spar and we spar light, like every time he's just eating shots, pop. You can see his like. There's nothing, you know, or not even parrying or practicing long guard or anything. It's just going for it, you know. So we joke about it, but those kind of things I really want to like develop.
Sure. And is there much of like a boxing culture there? Because obviously, like you say, recently Muay Thai's evolved their boxing quite a lot over the past decade or so. Is that kind of the same thing in Kun Khmer?
A little bit more. There's also a boxing team here in Cambodia. They also competed in the SEA Games. People do see the benefit of the boxing skills within another striking sport. So you see that more and more for sure. Yeah.
Okay, that's cool. And then on sort of the same wavelength, you've got obviously quite an extensive background with Taekwondo. Do you feel like that's changed your game very much, or was it very much kind of relearning the style when you started Muay Thai?
No, it's actually more relearning. Yeah.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Because I wouldn't have guessed you was a Taekwondo guy, to be fair. When we met and you were padding and you showed me some stuff, it was very like traditional type stuff. I wouldn't have had you pegged as a Taekwondo guy.
Yeah, I don't think I have that style anymore.
Right.
Because you would eat too many low kicks just with your stance, you know, like I was horrible when I started sparring from Taekwondo to that. And how often you judge the distance wrong because we always kick with our foot. And then like how many elbows you eat. It's a different sport. I feel like Taekwondo is good for a lot of stuff with discipline, also skill development, like flexibility.
Yeah.
But I also feel like nowadays people joke about Taekwondo, and it's kind of a bit sad because if you look at like 10, 20 years ago, like it was tough, man. Like Taekwondo was tough. But now I think like when they became an Olympic sport, and that's the thing people see.
Yeah.
That's a bit sad, you know. Like was it Taekwondo or karate like a few years ago that somebody KO'd the opponent, but he got DQ'd because it was too hard. Yeah.
For the gold medal, he knocked the guy out and was DQ'd. And this
because he was too hard.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's yeah, I do understand when you're new into martial arts that you feel like, ah, fuck, this is not tough enough, you know?
Yeah, yeah, you can see how it gets that bad, right? Like it's a fun sport and things, but you do lose that representation because there's still very much that style. There's a lot of gyms which have that old school taekwondo, like
Oh,
hardcore
yeah.
mentality, and that's
Yeah,
no
yeah, yeah,
joke.
yeah, yeah. That's really no joke. They are tough as nails, man. Yeah, 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 yeah. No, it's super cool. But yeah, it's just what you see on TV, and a lot of people judge based on that, I guess.
Yeah, especially from the outside. Yeah, you get that point sparring type
Yeah,
like
yeah, yeah,
rule
yeah.
sets. Yeah,
And I think people also sometimes have to stop comparing sports to sports. It's just a different
yeah,
game as well, you know? Like people ask like, oh, what is better, Muay Thai or Kun Khmer or boxing? It's like, which rule set, you know?
yeah,
Yeah, is it a street fight? Is a street fight, I would go for a BJJ guy, for example, you know, or
yeah,
MMA guy. Yeah, it just depends on the whole, yeah, the whole setting, I guess. But
yeah. I agree. I mean
every,
that. Yeah, I was just going to say that that's what I like about talking to people from all different styles and things like that because I really do like appreciate arts for what they are, and it's not
yeah,
always about like self-defense. A lot of them are born from self-defense, but there's so much more than that now. They've all evolved, so you've got different styles and different
yeah.
attributes. There's something to learn from everyone, even the arts that get like knocked. I think there's a lot of interesting things you could take away from them for sure.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And I feel like in the end, it's just nice to talk and meet other people, and also just to enhance your horizon and to develop your own skills, you know.
Yeah,
Which is also hard because like when you're experiencing a certain sport or certain martial arts, and then to switch to something completely new, it's tough, man. It's
yeah,
I started it and I quit already, but I want to redo it again at BJJ. My
right.
brain just cannot comprehend with it, man. Like what the fuck am I doing? Like it's just short circuits, you know. But that's in a way also nice to have the beginner's mindset again, like to be
Yeah.
humble and like yeah, just go through every single step people go through again.
Well, especially something so different as well. Like if you've always been a striker, which that was my same thing. I've always done various
Right.
striking martial arts growing up, and then I went to this like MMA for beginners thing, and I was like, this will be cool. And we're doing the striking. I'm like, okay, it's a
Yeah.
bit different to what I know, but fine. Like I get on board with that, doing all right. And then you start doing the grappling stuff, and I'm like, what in the fuck is this?
Right? Yeah, 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 yeah. What the fuck are you doing? Stop touching me. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Such a big different game. Like
Yeah,
funny, like, this morning we had a guy from Myanmar. He just moved to Cambodia and maybe wants to join our camp. But he did Letway and MMA fighting. So
great.
we were clinching today, but then he was like hooking. He was because he did more MMA fights. So he was clinching and trying to dump the person, but then like hooking from the back. Like little things like that. Like it's just a different rules, you know. Like did you do MMA and you do that? Great. But you do this in a Muay Thai or Kun Khmer match? No, cannot. You know, like it's just different rules, different game.
Yeah, having the ability to adapt your skills to like whatever setup it
Yeah.
is, which is
But
quite
it's hard,
interesting.
right? If you're used to a certain auto flow, autopilot flow, and then suddenly you really need to think like, ah, this I cannot do, or this I cannot do. That really holds you back.
Yeah, for sure. Like that is a big thing because especially when you get to a high level, you've like hardwired things in and you've got things that work for you. And if suddenly that thing that works for you really well that you don't realize you're basing X, Y, and Z on is suddenly illegal in
Yeah,
that rule set, you're like, oh shit,
yeah, yeah,
actually
yeah,
I
yeah.
don't have as much as I thought.
Yeah, go from UFC to ONE FC, for example, right? Like
Yeah.
need opponent, right? That's a big thing, man. Like if you're
Game changer.
always, yeah, super game changer, man. But yeah, that's the challenging of the sport as well.
Yeah, and that's another thing to enjoy with like exploring different martial arts is they've all got different things. Like if you change a rule set, suddenly this art might become more relevant, right?
Yeah,
Whereas you
yeah,
might
yeah,
not
yeah,
be a
yeah,
big
yeah.
clinch fighter, suddenly you've got to go and learn the clinch.
Yeah, 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 exactly, exactly. For example, when Gustav was learning the rule set for BKFC, so you can clinch one arm, or you can you can punch like this, like
Yeah, like dirty
one
boxing.
arm. Yeah, 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 like dirty boxing. Yeah. So that's something. If you're never used to that, like it's it's just not ingrained in you, you know? Like you need to
Yeah,
make a
you've got
conscious
to
decision
practice
to like,
that for sure.
yeah. I'm gonna do something what is normally illegal in boxing. Yeah.
Yeah,
Kind of
well,
weird.
I find the same thing. I've got my next match is a boxing match, and I've always been well, I say always, for a little while, I'm a very like Wing Chun guy, which is a bit
Okay.
dorky, I'll admit. But they have a lot of clinch fighting stuff. So when we practice, I'm
Mm.
always grabbing and like pulling and doing things like this. I've had to get myself out of that habit. I find myself sparring, and I will go for these dirty boxing positions. It's essentially got a lot of like dirty boxing stuff, and I'm like, oh no, let go of that. Sorry.
Yeah. So that holds you back a little bit, right? Because you have to
Yeah, you
constantly
have
think
to
what not to
switch
do.
on. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's
man.
always interesting. Well, I think
When is your fight?
It's not until March, so I've got about 2 months.
Okay, cool.
Start March.
Nice. All right.
And then MMA again after that. That's the plan. A couple of months later, I need to get back into
Nice,
grappling.
man. Yeah. Keep me posted, man. Stay in touch with you.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Got plans to visit Asia again?
I hope so. I don't have anything concrete at the moment. I'd like to get back there at some point. There are a few things that I missed, like I was saying with Myanmar, and I'd like to do more in China and things like that, which at the time I just couldn't do. So one day I am heading back out there, but a little budget restricted at the moment.
Fair enough. You need to work again.
Exactly. Yeah, I'm gonna put some time in here.
Yeah, fair enough.
But
cool,
that
man.
actually kind of takes us up to pretty much an hour. I guess just to wrap us up, what's the best place for people to kind of follow you? Because it's really interesting to learn a bit more about the Cambodian stuff and what you're doing. I think it's really great, and it's good to kind of bring a bit more awareness to Cambodian arts as well.
Yeah, so you can visit our website, kingdomfightgym.com, and we're also on social media, Instagram and Facebook. So that's going to be Kingdom Fight Gym, PP, like for Phnom Penh.
Yeah, I'll put all the things in the description as well for each one, so that people can find you nice and easy. But yeah, if anyone is ever interested and finds themselves going out to Asia, and you're thinking about doing the Thai thing, especially, it's very, very common in martial arts circles to go out. I'd 100% recommend coming down to Kingdom as well, because there's so much good stuff there, and it's really interesting just to work a different way of training. So it's like you say, building it for foreigners as a fight camp you've done an excellent job. And the facility, I mean, the last one was really cool. I'm assuming this one's pretty cool as well.
This is even better, mate.
Exactly.
Upgraded. Right.
Perfect. Well, I'll wrap up the recording here. Thank you very much for your time. I appreciate that, Kwok.
Yeah, thank you too.
Everyone go and check out Kingdom Fight Gym.
Thank you very much for listening. I really hope you found that interesting. I thought that's fascinating, learning a little bit more about Cambodia and Cambodian martial arts. Obviously, Kwok's got a really diverse background. Definitely worth thinking about. I know there's not a lot of listeners in Cambodia, but definitely worth having a think about visiting the gym. They're really fantastic setup there, really cool gym. And if you're ever into your striking and you're planning on doing a trip to Thailand, I can't recommend enough. Take a little hop over the border, explore Cambodia. It's an amazing country, but go and visit Kingdom Fight Gym, do a bit of training out there. It's fantastic. Again, I'll put all the links in the description so you can follow them and learn a little bit more about them. Until the next time, thank you for listening.